reptile room is essentially a private reptile zoo, and it's awesome. But there are some things that I have not been telling you. On social media, it's glamorization. That's what it is, not just in reptiles, but in everything in life. That guy you see with the Lamborghini probably rented it. That guy posting reels of him lounging in his pool all afternoon probably is working all day and just showing you that part. And the guy who has 100 reptiles in his room and shows you all the cool parts, I promise you there's some stuff you're not thinking about, and maybe before you jump into it, you should watch this video. Because my reptile room is never done. And I've had a reptile room dedicated in my house since 2016, long before I even started this channel. And guess what? In the last 9 years, it's never been finished. So I failed, and so have so many others that you watch and read about and hear about and talk to, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why that is. First of all, the hobby moves fast. Things are always changing, especially in the age of social media. And right now, sure, we actually do see quite a bit of a slowdown in reptiles, which I would love to make a video about. Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like to see that. But because it moves so fast, that means that things are always changing, which means I need to change things in my reptile room. So I'll have a plan and say, hey, I want, these enclosures to be done. And you see a lot of progress being done if you watch the videos within a year. It'll take me about a year to do this. But then 6 months down the road, something else comes up. And for me personally, that are deals that I find or sponsorships. Now, these are not a bad thing. I love everything about it. When you find a really good deal on a product that would make your reptile room better, take it. Even if it puts you behind, as long as your animals are taken care of course. But if it puts you behind schedule, who cares? The sponsorships that I have, I'm very lucky that sometimes I'll get a product to try and then show you guys. And because of that, I've had a lot of enclosures come in, which change my plans of how the reptile room will look. For example, we've got one right here that I'm moving out literally after this video, and I'm putting something special in there instead. So new enclosures come all the time, and that's the videos that you see from, from the micro creators with a few hundred all the way to the million plus creators. They're always setting up new enclosures for their reptiles, and that is probably the biggest reason that reptile rooms are never finished. We're always trying to improve, do different things, do better things. And a lot of times that's enclosures. And in November, you're gonna see something really cool on this channel. I also watch people way better than me at this. I am so inspired. I am always learning. I know that I am very lucky to have a substantial YouTube channel and following on social media, but there are so many people who are so much better at keeping reptiles and keeping reptile rooms than I am. The amount of times I've watched a Serpa video or Herp Havoc or even short form like Herp Time and think, man, I really got to do better. I am so enamored by so much stuff coming into my brain, and I just need to get it out, and that's why you're starting to see custom builds like the ones in the back there. And when I watch these videos for Tanner Serpa, for example, who was the very first in this niche that I've ever watched on YouTube, period, I get better because I learn things. Brad's bioactive builds. If I could have $1 for everything I've learned watching this guy's channel, I would have enough money to make all the enclosures that I'm making this month. So I'm learning things, and then that changes the way I want to do things, going back to before I had a YouTube channel when I kept most of the snakes that I kept in some of the lizards in rack systems. And then I learned that it's probably better to keep them in PVCs, like 4-foot PVCs that I've done lots of videos about. And then I decided, okay, now I need bigger enclosures, like for my boa, where I bought, a 700-gallon enclosure instead, and all the way to building my own enclosures out of plywood and maybe soon PVC. And then when you change everything, that means that everything changes. New lighting, new misting systems, new timers, new everything. And that is really hard to keep on top of, but it is so much easier now thanks to Chewy Plus. Today's episode is sponsored by Chewy, so thank you so much. You're another huge reason why my room changes all the time. Chewy Plus is new. They rolled it out. It is $49 a year right now. This means that you get free shipping, rewards, discounts, and I know everything's showing up to my house on time. Waiting for stuff drives me absolutely insane, and then paying shipping for everything every time I order. Sometimes I'll have to order 4 times in a week because I just don't know what's going on, or a light burns out the day after I order the lights. Chewy Plus solves all that. So that's another thing. I'm getting better. I'm getting better at stocking my reptile room, but I'm also getting better at keeping my reptiles. So for example, when I kept reptiles in bins on paper towel 10 years ago almost, I realized that I don't want to do that. I'm not demonizing racks or anything. I'm just saying I don't want to do that, and I feel like I'm a better keeper for giving more space to more species. And let's be clear here, when you watch a reptile room tour, all these YouTubers who do reptile rooms, I think it's awesome. I did one last month, and when I pan around the room, it looks awesome. But look at the room today. There's stuff everywhere because I'm in the middle of working on the room. These lights, there are 4 enclosures with no lights on right now because they've all burnt out and I need to order brand new ones, which is another thing entirely. I mean, my order today for lights is gonna be hundreds of dollars, which, I mean, we're gonna keep money out of this, but money's another thing, right? Money is like, this is such an expensive hobby. Like such an expensive, the lights I'm gonna buy today alone are gonna cost as much as building one of the enclosures we're making this month. But as we learn new techniques as keepers, because the motto of this channel has always been, let's learn about reptiles together, or let's discover reptiles together, is learning better ways to keep them. And then when you learn a better way, sometimes you have to put that in front of any progress with the reptile room or the reptile collection itself. And straight up, my personality is another big reason. I'm not gonna say I have ADHD because I've never been diagnosed with it, but I do move from one thing to the next and find new ideas and want to implement them immediately. And I deep dive into something and I'll watch, 12 of somebody's video and think, okay, I'm gonna do that now. So I like novelty. I do like change. Because of that, I can have a plan that's gonna take a year, and then 6 months later, I have a new plan that's gonna take a year, and then you know what I mean? I think that's kind of all of us. Reptile people are kind of unique. As I edit this, I realize it sounds like I'm just moving animals around all willy-nilly and getting new ones and getting rid of old ones just on a whim. I'm talking about moving the room around, giving new ideas to the enclosures, building new enclosures for the animals that we already have, while sometimes rehoming them and giving them the perfect home, which is why it takes so long. Steve is still available. I've been trying to find the perfect home for Steve for almost 9 months. If you live in Canada and you'd like Steve, let me know. And going back to the automation, I touched on this before. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time misting enclosures, and then I got rid of that completely by setting up an automated misting system. And then I wanted to start doing things like dry season, wet season, and automating seasons like they'd find in the wild, which means now I'm going back to misting things because then the plants in the enclosures in the dry season don't get enough water and then they die, so I have to mist them manually. And although I do stand behind the automated plugins that I've used forever and shown you before, 2 of those went this week, which they never have before, which means I've got to buy new ones and reset them up. And then, anyway, I'm just kind of rambling at this point about automation's awesome. Sometimes it's just, you have to reset it up. And then as you can identify, as people, we are just busy. I'm coming around to the fact that I didn't actually fail, by the way, because there's no failure as long as you're taking care of your reptiles. Anyway, we are busy people. I'm a busy person. I have a family and children and hobbies and interests and things, and I'm not down here 24/7, especially now when it is warm outside. I live in Canada, okay? It is real not fun for most of the year to be outside, which actually gives me more time to be inside during the winter and more productive. But in the summer, if my brother who lives across the country shows up unexpected and wants to play Frisbee for 2 days, I'm taking the time off and I'm doing it. If my kids want to get whipped in the pool, I'm gonna do it. It's one-wheeling season and I'm gonna do that too. Plus, family dinners and, meet the teacher night and everything else. Everything that you experience, everybody that you watch on the internet also experiences. And lastly, issues just come up. They just do. Issues all the freaking time just come up. For example, walking in this room today and realizing that 4 lights are just gone. The other room I haven't even walked into, but I know there's 2 lights that need to be ordered in there. In the middle of this episode, which I wasn't gonna show because I did scream like a 3-year-old girl a little bit. One of the name tags on the enclosure fell off, which means, I know this is like a 2-second thing, but there's so many 2-second things that I need to do. My enclosures today, I noticed, were a little bit dry in the back of the room because that reservoir, which is a 20-gallon barrel, by the way, is empty, even though I feel like I just filled it up. Things move so fast and we've got so many reptiles. So Adam, you're just complaining. Is there a solution? There are solutions. Less reptiles, cooler enclosures. Keep your interest there, because at the end of the day, it is really easy to say, well, just have less reptiles. Don't buy the cool reptiles. Sorry, we're humans. That doesn't work. Instead, this is what I'm going to do, and maybe it'll work for you too. Let me know in the comments. I am moving all of this stuff. That's why this thing is unplugged and there's nothing in it anymore. This is where Tilly was, and Tilly, we made a whole video 2 weeks ago about building Tilly an enclosure. So I'm moving that, I'm moving the couch over here, I'm building more enclosures over here. It is October, so it's gonna be warm enough, and then next month it's gonna snow. So I do need to really hurry up and do that, even though we've got Tinley coming up, and anyway, I can just continue to make excuses, but I'm just gonna have less reptiles and focus on certain things. And oh yeah, I've got 80 reptiles coming from Indonesia next week. Please hit subscribe and watch that video. See you next week.